This week I want to share with you a little bit about making your own good luck. As you've probably heard a lot of people say, I don't think luck is a real thing. If there is such a thing as luck, I think it falls into that category of when preparedness meets opportunity. And that's really something you have control over, is how much you're prepared to do your job as an investigator or as any kind of security professional or process server. Hi, this is Larry Kaye with ShadowAnyone.com and the creator of the Investigator's Ultimate Guide series, which is premium private investigator training from someone who's been there and done that. A name that you may not be familiar with, and that's perfectly fine, Eric Rudolph. He was a domestic terrorist. He's still alive. I believe he's still in federal custody, still alive, last I heard. He did the Olympic bombing, the Centennial Park bombing, as it's frequently called, back in the 90s. Security guard Richard Jewell was initially blamed for that, and there was some shady stuff done to try to get him to admit to it. That's a whole nother issue, a whole nother video. But Eric Rudolph is the one who did the bombing. Richard Jewell, the security guard, saved who knows how many people by drawing alertness to this and starting to clear out the area. Although the bomb did go off, one person was killed and something like 111 people injured. If you forgot about that, haven't thought about it in a while, or never heard about it, let's talk about how Eric Rudolph was eventually captured. The FBI put him on the 10 most wanted list, and he was there, honestly, for years, because Rudolph was prepared to live almost like an animal out in some rugged, wooded country. And think for a moment, how many times do you see, say, a raccoon, a wild animal like that? You just don't see them out in the trees and in the woods. You occasionally will see them digging through a trash can. And oddly enough, a local law enforcement officer, I believe it was a deputy, saw Rudolph digging through a dumpster, thought it was suspicious, approached him, identified him, and arrested him. It's very easy for us in hindsight to say, boy, that was lucky, or what good luck that deputy just happened to be there at just the right time. But think of it this way. Putting Rudolph on the top 10 most wanted list and keeping the pressure on forced him to live in such a way that when he did need some additional resources, he had to behave suspiciously enough that it drew law enforcement's attention. In a sense, in a very real sense, feds made their own luck on this by keeping the pressure on. So what does that mean for us as private investigators or process servers? We've all had that situation, for example, with skip tracing, where it's difficult to find someone. And we may not be in a position where we're keeping the pressure on them necessarily, although if you've served process for any length of time, you know that many repeated attempts and knocking on the door can keep the person kind of on guard, or maybe even force them into changing their routine in such a way that you can get them served. But just in a more traditional type skip tracing thing, creating your own luck by using the sources and methods that you have. So in other words, that a lot of times, in my view, may involve going down to the courthouse and pulling files, looking through charges, even speeding tickets, or even civil litigation files. And you know, if you've ever done this, and if you do this regularly, you come across some pretty interesting things, including very common to come across, say, medical papers that are stamped confidential, and in the file is this paperwork, no one ever thought would be out and see the light of day, but there it is for you. And so you can say to yourself, gee golly, it's so lucky that I stumbled upon this confidential information. But I don't know that it really is luck so much as you made your own luck. You took the initiative to go down. Maybe, yes, you were able to search the court index online and see that there was a case down there, a civil case or something. But taking that extra initiative to go down and pull the file and turn through it page by page until you found this lucky break, that is making your own luck. And that is a combination of two things. One is having sources and methods that you know about that you can use, and the other is that personal initiative that gets you down to the courthouse on a maybe what you would consider a long shot that, let's face it, doesn't pay off like that every time. How often does it pay off? Well, the more often you do it, the more often you're going to find those little golden nuggets. And I simply can't give you a number on that. I can tell you this, it pays off 0% of the time if you don't go down there. If you've followed me for a while, you can see I've kind of been stepping up to this lesson, giving bits and pieces over the weeks and try to give every week something usable for you. But let's combine a couple of things. My most recent book, 51 Weird Private Investigator Tricks That Actually Work, that is full of sources and methods. Now, having sources and methods and not using them is the same as not having them. That's where this second part comes in. This idea that I talked about, especially last week and in my podcast episode number 7 over at shadowanyone.com/podcast. One of the key areas I talked about there is persistence, tenacity, and how that can really make up for a lack of, say, talent or even experience. You may not have as much experience as the next guy, as someone else who's trying to get a case or work background checks for a company. But if you keep plugging away, if you say, I'm going to run down to the courthouse and pull this file and just to see what's in there, maybe it's something, then you may get information that's valuable to a client that nobody else is taking that personal initiative, using that persistence to get. So there's that combination of sources and methods that you've taken the time to learn. Obviously, you're listening to me now. You're investing your time, which is more valuable even than money. You're investing your time to learn how to be a better investigator. And then you're taking that personal initiative. Again, there's an element of time there. Certainly, most people would rather be doing maybe watching some television or watching another video online about how to do this or how to do that. But it's the person who goes and takes the action, who does the steps necessary to get the job done, that's really going to be successful. Honestly, you have to notice there's no free lunch in life. Nobody is going to give you something for nothing. And you're not going to have success in your private investigator business or process serving business if you're not willing to pay the price. Determine what that price is for success and resolve to pay it. Maybe that price is that you're going to save a little bit of money. You've set a budget aside for training. You say, okay, I'm going to put this much money aside until I've saved up enough for this training that I like or that training that I think will be helpful. If money is not there for you, and I get it, I get that completely. Maybe you're going to say, well, I'm going to take an hour once a week or twice a week or 3 times a week and go to the library and read books about private investigation or look at legal books or anything that's going to make you better. If you don't have the money, you got to invest your time. If you don't have time, you can try to make up for that by using money to kind of condense that learning experience down. But either way, it's up to you. It's not going to just be handed to you. You're going to have to go out and get it. The very, very good news is if you've listened this long, then you're the type of person who will do it one way or another, and I congratulate you for that. In the meantime, this is Larry Kaye with shadowanyone.com. Remember, do the right thing, even if it's the hard thing.